Hey guys, it's Brickman117. Welcome back to the channel and what will hopefully be the definitive answer as to what happened to the Ultimate Longsword build. For those of you that are unfamiliar with the Ultimate Longsword project, it was an Ultimate build that I started last year that only saw 3 episodes and then halted. Now, I have addressed the reasons as to why there was never a part 4 for the Ultimate Longsword a number of times in various other videos, but it's clear that people that are new to the channel or don't watch all of my videos don't know the answer to this, so I keep getting regular questions on every video I release. When's it coming out? What's happening with it? So hopefully, if I air this video as part 4, it means everybody that's interested in that will eventually get to part 4, watch it, and then understand why there is no part 4, and they'll also have the answer as to what's going on with that build. So first of all, I'd just like to state that that build is not cancelled. I've said a number of times it's just on hold, and the reason I've said it's on hold is because of parts issues. So the reason it's on hold because of parts issues is because of the type of parts I need. It's not about how many parts I have. I know the specific parts that I need, and more importantly, I know what colour I need them in to be able to create it to the standard that you're used to seeing from my builds. I don't want to complete that build in Covenant Purple or UNSC Green. I want to complete it in the colour I started it in, and that's where the problem lies. So to date, this is the only build that I've had to stall on or walk away from part way through the build, and hopefully it'll be the last one. Now, before I started this build, I knew it was going to be ambitious. It was definitely going to be my biggest build to date, and I knew I was going to need vast amounts of specialist pieces, which I knew I didn't have. So in that case, you could ask, why did I start it if I know I didn't have the parts? Well, the answer to that's simple. Before I started that build, it was in the early days of my relationship with Mega Constructs. We had started to talk to each other about my channel and my builds, and it was in very early days, and they'd expressed interest in supporting me with some of my builds and supplying me with parts to make the process easier. Now, this is where I made a mistake, because they'd asked me to provide a list of the kind of parts that I would need to continue my build, and they were very excited about it, so was I. So I did that, but unfortunately I made the assumption that everything that I asked for I would be able to get. And that's where it all kind of fell down. Unfortunately, it turns out they weren't able to supply the parts that I needed. I'm not prepared to disclose why, because it's confidential, but just know that they tried to do everything they could to supply me with what I needed. So what that meant was the only way I was going to be able to get the kind of parts in the volume I needed was to continue to buy old sets from eBay, because most of the parts I need for that set are from very old retired sets from the 5 to 10 year old range. But unfortunately, that would cost me absolutely huge amounts of money buying the sets that I need to use 20 or 25% of that set for the specialist pieces in them, and then just carry on collecting hundreds or thousands and thousands of parts that I don't need. So I opted to leave that where it was, because there was just no way I could afford to buy the amount of parts I needed to complete that project, which is why I moved on to something else. Now, another question I get regularly is people feeling disgruntled and complaining that I've used the colour grey in other builds because they feel that those parts could have gone towards the Longsword build. And whilst you could argue, yes, they could go towards the Longsword build, the response I've given to those people is, even if I used every single grey block from every MOC I've built, my entire collection of parts, I'd still only have about 15 or 20% of what I need to complete that Longsword build. So it doesn't make sense to me to have all those parts held up in an incomplete MOC that may then still stay incomplete for years, when I could be putting those parts to good use, like the Banished Phantom that I built. Everybody enjoyed that. I would never have been able to build that if I'd tied those parts up in the Ultimate Longsword. So that's why I've chosen to leave it as it is, in the hope that one day something will change. So what's going to change, I hear you ask? Well, it's my hope that at some point the kind of parts may be able to become available from Mega Constructs, if they're still willing to supply those parts, that I could actually rebuild what I've built so far in a more modern colour, which is more readily available from them, and then that way we could almost restart the project and see it all the way through. But it needs to be when the time is right. So hopefully that answers the question for all those of you that need to know, where is it, when's it going to be finished. I don't know when it's going to be finished, but I can assure you what you've seen me build so far is still as it is on a shelf. It's been mothballed. Hopefully I'll pick it up again one day. It's still one of my favourite vehicles, and I know it would be an absolutely epic build. So don't worry, I'm sure it will come back at some point. I haven't given up on it. I just have to ask all of you just to be patient and bear with me. So now that I've addressed that issue, I'm going to get back to focusing on the current build, which is the ultimate banished AA turret. So hopefully that will keep you amused until the time comes that I can continue with the ultimate longsword. And that's just about all I've got to say on that subject. So as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.